Hello, everybody. Here we are, BravoCon Eve. And just as promised, I am going to give you a quick update on the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City's last episode titled Unicorn Overboard. You guys, the Canauan trip is finally over. You're welcome, below deck people. We're sorry yet again. But it didn't end without one more eruption. So at the very final breakfast, Meredith and Britani get into it because Britani makes the comment about Seth and how he was possibly having a relationship based on some TikTok rumors. And Meredith kind of gets upset, but surprisingly, she doesn't have the reaction that we think that she's going to have. And there's a reason for it. She's not done. Let's move on. The ladies leave and they gave Captain Jason what looked to be a big fat envelope. Now, Heather was on Watch What Happens Live earlier this week, and she said that, in fact, all the girls do chip in for the tip, and she made a very kind of under her breath comment about, and I put in what was missing. Sounded a little bit shady, but whatever. Anyway, listen, Heather is smitten with Captain Jason. Like, truly, really, really. She was devastated on Watch What Happens Live when Andy told her that Captain Jason denied that they had hooked up. And she made some comment about, well, just know what you're dealing with, ladies. And then later on in the episode, when she was asked who she was, they were making jokes about her hooking up this weekend at BravoCon and blah, blah, blah. And when asked who she was looking forward to possibly doing that with, she stated the obvious. She didn't say his name, but she said, who do you guys think? So she's got a mad crush on Captain Jason. Thankfully, they did get a decent tip because they sure put them through the grinder for what looked like 3 dreadful days. I don't watch Below Deck Down Under, and I'm not really sure what the dynamic is, but I didn't get warm and fuzzies with Daisy. So it actually propelled me to kind of want to watch it, just to see if maybe it was just because she was reacting to these whack guests. They were on Watch What Happens Live, and they said that this group was the roughest group that they had ever encountered. So there you have it. The ladies are heading back home to Salt Lake City, but before they head home, one of the deckhands regifts Britani with none other than Uni, the stuffed unicorn with Jared's voice on it, that Meredith and Bronwyn had very ceremoniously tossed overboard. So did a deckhand jump in and grab it? That's service. On the flight back, Britani claims that there was an incident, and she talks about hair pulling and shaking of her seat, and it was apparently Meredith blowing up at her. So I guess it just took a couple of first-class cocktails and maybe the alleged Zanny for her to get a little bit verbally abusive, and it sounds like even kind of physically abusive. Meredith was asked, and she said that she just was holding on to her chair when she got up to go to the bathroom. But if you look at the seating chart, it doesn't make any sense because Lisa was the person who was sitting behind Britani. So was Lisa the person behind the hair pulling? Some schools of thought think that Lisa incited Meredith and was not doing anything to try to tamp down the complete ballistic nightmare that Meredith was on the way home. Apparently, everyone heard it. Everybody was texting one another, asking what the hell was going on. But Meredith is standing on her laurels, saying that if she had done anything that was that far overboard, there would have been air marshals waiting for her at the airport. I don't disagree with that, but it doesn't mean that she wasn't being mean girl. And Lisa and Meredith decide that they're just going to band together, and Then they finally get back, and Bronwyn confronts her husband about the rumors that he was caught looking at women's photos on a flight. And I remember seeing that on Instagram in real time. And she kind of said that it was just a friend. And then when it came out that they were sexy photos, she said that she was okay with it. So, there's some alleged craziness going on. But after returning to Salt Lake City, it's time for all the lunches. All the girls are going to get out and lunch and basically just gossip. So Heather meets Britani, and she apologizes to her for how the trip ended. And Britani says, like, nobody stood up for me. Heather said she was asleep, and when she woke up, she heard them, and then she kind of jumped in, and then they jumped down her throat. And then Britani just says that she's like just torn up about it. Lisa meets with Heather about the dinner and the flight drama, and Lisa pushes back on how much she was involved. Instead of, taking the opportunity to say, like, yeah, I think it was a little much, she keeps, backpedaling. And honestly, I think that if you just one of these times just said, you know what, I was wrong, and then end of sentence, no buts, no and thens, no nothing, then maybe there would be a chance in hell that we could get past this let's take Lisa down season. But you're not doing anything to help any of these situations with the way that you are behaving. And honestly, I'm okay if everybody goes after you, because you kind of have it coming, girl. You just kind of have it coming. So the real question here is, are we team Lisa and Meredith or team apparently everyone else? Everybody is really upset with what was done to Britani on the flight. However, we may never know really the degree of what happened. It's very odd. There's a lot of speculation about why we didn't get this on film. Some people say production doesn't fly back with the girls on the same flight. Others say that production took up the majority of the plane that they were on, and they were in first class. And if that's the case, there's no reason why they couldn't have popped on the cameras and captured some of this for us. Maybe there's going to be more to this. Maybe we'll hear about this at the reunion. Who knows? Whatever happened, something happened. And I think the person who spoke the most eloquently about this was Mary, because she was very matter of fact. She did not allow Lisa or Meredith or anybody else to kind of backpedal on what actually happened. And she said, I was there. And I think it was Lisa said, you know what, you were asleep. And she said, yeah, but every time I'd wake up, you guys were going at her. So in my opinion, this is just mean girl behavior, and I don't like it. I hate that Meredith decided to join the gang up on Lisa's side. I probably would have disliked it more if Lisa would have been, an island on her own, because there's nothing that I dislike more than a big gang up like that. But this girl's making her own problems. Her husband doesn't like her anymore. Her kid doesn't like her. Her youngest kid is the one that she's barely holding on to. She's plowing him with Wendy's until he can get the hell out of Dodge himself. So I just don't know. In my opinion, she's had, she's a likable cast member for this series, but she's had a fall from grace with regards to how loved she is, because she's just not being a good, nice human being. And I hate that. So this episode is basically all about the fallout of what's happened. The yacht trip basically provided the setting, but what we came across or came out with was what a shit show this cast has become and how deeply fractured they are. So will they find their way back to one another with the episodes we have left for the rest of the season? What about Bronwyn and Todd? Do you think that they'll make it another season? It almost seems like Bronwyn is trying to not make it through another season. She talks about how she has no idea the status of her relationship, and they talk about maybe having an open situation, and that Bronwyn and Whitney get really candid with one another about, the unconventional ways that they intend to conduct themselves in their marriage. And I'm not one to judge one way or the other. I just don't know that coming on this show for purposes of having some sort of a platform was worth losing your marriage over. Maybe they have some sort of arrangement, Bronwyn and Todd. What do I know? Maybe she's okay with it. She alluded to the fact that if he brought someone in, that as long as she knew, she'd be okay with it. So, you know what? Maybe we just leave that one alone and we move on. I think that we are going to see a lot more from this trip. I think that it's going to be the catalyst that kind of springboards us forward through the rest of the season with the dynamics as they stand right now. There's already a lot of mud being flung around, so it should make for a good remainder of the season. I am very happy that Lisa is not the beloved, and I'm sorry that I keep talking about this, but it's finally happened. People are finally starting to see her the way that I have seen her for all of these seasons. And I've said it before, but I'm loving season 6 Heather. I intend to look for her at BravoCon and ask her hopefully a few questions if I can get an audience with her. You guys, that's it for the recap portion of this podcast episode. I've been wandering around. I am beautifully situated with a gorgeous view of the Sphere. I have literally walking distance to where the BravoCon activities are going to be. I walked around for a while and you heard them doing some testing outside. For those of you who have been to BravoCon before, or, I'm talking mainly in 2023 here in Las Vegas, just so you know, it's set up pretty much identically to the way it was set up in 2023. So if that gives you any ideas on how to navigate tomorrow. Also, don't forget to dress comfortably, because everybody always wants to look cute for the photo ops, but by 3 or 4 o'clock, your feet don't really care how cute you looked in those photos. And it's a long, long weekend, trust me. So right before we sign off for the evening, I'm getting ready to go have a lovely dinner. I'm very excited. It is well deserved. Trust me, it's already been a long day, but I'm going to call it early tonight so that I can be all bushy-tailed and bright-eyed in the morning. I just want to thank my new followers. We've already had a chunk of new followers just based on me wandering around and saying hi to people. And, it's really easy to spot the Bravo lovers out here because everybody's got this certain look in their eyes and everybody is excited. It's usually a couple or 3 ladies hanging out together, and a big tip off are the t-shirts and the hats that they are all wearing. So I just want to spend a moment and thank Nina and Ashley and Kay and Sean and Jay and Hannah for joining us on the Living on the Verge podcast. Listen out all weekend. I will be back in the morning with the word or phrase of the day. And if you find me and you are able to repeat that back to me at the time I announce where I will be, then you could win some Living on the Verge BravoCon merch. Thanks, you guys. Be safe out there. Don't stay up too late. We've got a long weekend ahead of us, Bravo fans. Remember, if you do anything this weekend in Vegas, there's a really good chance that people will have receipts, screenshots, timelines. It's just not worth it. I hope you have the time of your life at BravoCon. And oh, by the way, if you weren't able to make it here, listen all weekend anyway. There will be an opportunity for people who are not at BravoCon to win some Living on the Verge merch as well. And I'll be back with more details on that. Until then, I'll be here on the Strip in Las Vegas at BravoCon 2025, living my very best life on The Verge.